Alice wakes up in the Queen of Hearts castle. It's better to run as fast as possible. Alice leaves the hallway safely and faces 3 doors. Unfortunately, there's a danger lurking behind each door. The first passage is filled with toxic gas. It drives people mad in the blink of an eye. Behind the second door, there's a damp tunnel half filled with poisoned water. Drinking this water is fatal for any person. And an angry guard is waiting behind the third door. He arrests anyone who dares to enter. Which way is more or less safe? Alice should choose the second option. The water is only dangerous if you drink it. Alice can cover her mouth and quickly run through the tunnel.
Yes!
Alice gets away from the queen. She goes ahead and faces 2 unexpected obstacles in the forest. But what's more dangerous, a bear or a swarm of bees? The bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to Alice. But the bees seem pretty angry. They'll most likely go after her. Alice continues her journey and meets the caterpillar. This creature agrees to give Alice a ride if she cracks a small riddle. The caterpillar's body consists of 3 equal parts. The first part of the body depicts 3 numbers, 4, 3, and 5. The second part also has 3 numbers, 3, 1, and 8. The third part is missing 1 digit. Can you guess this digit? Each stack of digits totals 12, so the missing number is 5.
Oh, yes.
The caterpillar brings Alice to the logical kingdom. Its inhabitants, called knaves, always lie. Meanwhile, its inhabitants, called knights, always tell the truth. Alice meets 3 locals, Audrey, Bill, and Carol. She has no idea about who is who. So Alice asks Audrey, "Is Bill a knight or a knave?" Audrey replies, "Bill is a knight." Then Alice asks Bill, "Are Audrey and Carol both knights or both knaves?" Bill replies, "Yes." And finally, Alice asks Carol, "Is Bill a knight or a knave?" Carol replies, "Bill is a knave." Now, can you help Alice figure out who is a knight and who is a knave? Since Audrey and Carol answer differently to the same question, they cannot both be knights or knaves. They must represent one of each type. Since this is counter to what Bill answered, he must be lying. Therefore, Bill must be a knave. That means that Carol answered truthfully and she's a knight, and Audrey didn't, so she's a knave. Alice continues her journey and meets the Mad Hatter. He promises to show her the way out. But first, Alice should answer his twisted questions. Here's the first one. What's the difference between a cat and a comma? One has claws at the end of its paws, and the other has a pause at the end of a clause. Alice nails it and gets the next riddle from the Hatter. What can you see with your eyes closed? The answer? A dream. To whom do all men take off their hats? To a barber. What occurs twice a week, once in a year, but never in a day? It's the letter E. And finally, the last question. I can be long or I can be short. I can be grown and I can be bought. I can be painted or left bare. I can be round or square. What am I? Ooh, fingernails!
Yeah.
The Hatter tells Alice to follow the White Rabbit, but first, she has to decide which one of these 3 rabbits is the real one. Can you help her? The first rabbit's tail is too long. It's the Cheshire Cat pretending to be a rabbit. The second one has a seam on its belly and a tiny logo on its ear, so it's just a toy. Thus, the third rabbit with a pocket watch is the one we're looking for. Alice takes a look at the White Rabbit's watch. The minute and hour hands are exactly between the digits 1 and 2. Also, Alice notices that both hands lie exactly one above the other. What's the time? It's 12 o'clock. See, both minute and hour hands point exactly to the middle of the number 12, which is precisely between 1 and 2. Alice tells the rabbit, "You should get a digital watch. It can show time as palindromic numbers, which are read the same both forward or backward, like 1221, for example." The rabbit asks, "What's the minimum interval between 2 times that are palindromic?" Can you solve the mystery? The correct answer is 2 minutes. It's between 9:59 and 10:01. The White Rabbit invites Alice to his house and asks her to help him find these 4 items. Can you see them in this picture? Ah, here they are. The White Rabbit says that Alice needs to pass through the royal garden to escape. Alice follows his advice. Suddenly, she sees a huge chessboard. How many squares of any size can you find on this chessboard that do not contain a rook? Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. Let's see. First of all, we have 62 small rook-free squares. Also, we have 41 2x2 squares, 18 3x3 squares, and 6 4x4 squares. And finally, there's one 5x5 square. So the correct answer is 128. Alice is about to pass through the garden undetected when she overhears the Queen of Hearts arguing with her husband that 64 is the same as 65. To prove her point, the Queen calls 4 card guards. 2 of them are trapezoid cards that have non-diagonal sides measuring 5x5x3. The other 2 are long triangle cards with non-diagonal sides measuring 8x3. All 4 laid down on a chessboard measuring 8x8. Then the same cards rearrange themselves on a board measuring 5x13. They appear to take up the same space, confusing Alice. Can you try to explain this mystery? This is the legendary Alice in Wonderland riddle, otherwise known as the mathematical chessboard paradox. Let's look again at the trapezoid and the triangle cards lying next to each other. They look like they cover exactly half of the triangle. Their edges are forming one long line running from corner to corner. If that's true, then the slopes of their diagonal sides should be the same. But when mathematicians calculate these slopes using a special formula, curious things happen. The trapezoid card's diagonal side goes up 2 and over 5, giving it a slope of 2/5. However, the triangle's card diagonal goes up 3 and over 8, making its slope 3/8. So, if we take a closer look, we'll see a tiny gap between the triangles and trapezoids. This gap forms a parallelogram that stretches the entire length of the board and accounts for the missing square. The mystery is solved. The Queen of Hearts is furious, so Alice rushes to hide in the garden maze. It's very twisted. Can you help Alice find a safe way out? Here's the only way out. Alice nails it and runs to the forest. Suddenly, she meets a Cheshire cat. Alice asks him to show her the way. That's when he replies, "Take away my first letter and I'll point anywhere. Take away my last letter and I'll laugh at anything. What am I?" Can you help Alice crack this puzzle? The correct answer is a hat. If we remove the first letter, we get ha, and if we remove the last one, at. Alice should find the Mad Hatter to drink some magic tea and come back home. She's lucky because he's throwing a tea party today. The Mad Hatter invites the March Hare, the Dormouse, and Alice. The Mad Hatter is sitting not opposite to Alice. The March Hare is not on the Dormouse's right, and the Dormouse is not on Alice's left. Can you figure out who sits where? Here's the correct setting.
I have a math workout for you today, but first, let's have a little warm-up. How many ducks do you see in this picture? Don't forget about the hidden ones. There are 15 ducks. Did you find them all? Okay, now count all the flowers. Right, there are 17 of them. Can you spot 3 differences between these photos? Here they are. And another one. There are 3 differences again. Do you see them? Okay, here they are. Good job. Okay, now a bit of math for you. Look at this picture. The only number multiplied by itself that gives 25 is 5, so this shape equals 5. This way, the other shape from the second equation is 4. 4 and 6 make 10, so the red circle equals 6. Then, 5 multiplied by 6 gives us 30. This one is similar, but a bit harder, so be very attentive. Okay, 3 pairs of sneakers make 30. Then 1 pair equals 10. Then 1 cat with a whistle must be 5. In this case, 2 whistles equal 4, so 1 whistle is 2. Now the last one. A pair of sneakers is 10. We know that a cat with a whistle is 5, but this kitty doesn't have a whistle. But since a whistle is 2, the cat without a whistle must be 3. And a whistle equals 2. So, it's 10 plus 3 multiplied by 2, which is 16. Ava and Dakota are sisters. When Dakota was 18, Ava was half her age. Now that Dakota is 26, how old is Ava? When Dakota was 18, Ava was 9, so the age difference between the sisters is 9 years. If Dakota is 26 now, then Ava is 17. When Polaris was 16 years old, her mother was 39. If Polaris's mom is twice her daughter's age, how old is Polaris? The age difference between Polaris and her mother is 23 years. That means now, Polaris is 23 and her mom is 46. Yvonne had a big collection of CDs. One day, she decided to clean up her house and counted that she had 172 CDs. She sold them all except for 7 CDs of her favorite singer and 5 CDs of her favorite band. How many CDs does Yvonne have now? Well, if she gave up all but 7 plus 5, it leaves her with 12 CDs. In PE class, all students were standing in a circle. If the 5th student was exactly opposite the 12th student, how many students were in the circle? Between student number 5 and student number 12, there are 6 other students. If these two are opposite each other, then on the other side between them, there are also 6 students. This makes 14 students in the circle. Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says: 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has 1 other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10. The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10, greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6 and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. Mrs. Davies is an elderly lady telling a story of her life.
After I lived 1/4 of my life, I got my first car. I married 1/12 of my life later. 1/6 of my life later, I started a business. 1/4 of my life later, I got my first granddaughter. She just turned 18.
How old is Mrs. Davies? Let's say Mrs. Davies is X years old. 1/4 of her life, till she gets her first car, X is 4. Then we add 12 till her marriage. X till opening her business, 4 till the birth of her granddaughter, and finally 18 years from then till now. It should all be equal to X. If you solve this equation, you'll figure out that X is equal to 72. So, Mrs. Davies must be 72 years old. Esme was walking in the forest, and you know what? She didn't get lost this time. She knew how to get home, but the other road led to the witch's house, and the girl recently came up with a cool riddle for the witch. So, Esme decided to pay her a visit. She offered a deal. If the witch couldn't solve her riddle, Esme would get her cat. The witch agreed, and Esme gave her a square piece of paper, 4 inches by 4 inches, with a total area of 16 square inches. Turn it into a square with a total area of 8 square inches without a ruler. How can the witch do it? The witch should fold the 4 corners of the square towards the middle. This way, she'll get a square that is exactly twice as small as the original one. Apparently, the witch gets to keep her cat this time. There's a box filled with balls of different colors, 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Allison has a tricky task. Blindfolded, she has to keep picking up balls until she's sure that she has balls of at least 2 different colors. What's the minimum number of balls she should pull out of the box? In the worst-case scenario, Allison will be picking up balls of the same color until there are no more of them left in the box. The majority of balls are purple, so if she picks up a purple ball every single time, it'll be 11 balls. And only after that will she get a ball of a different color. So, she should pick up 12 balls. Chris and Sally are best friends. They live in different districts of the city. But this morning, they went to the same railway station. Chris left home 15 minutes earlier than Sally. They met in a park. Who was closer to the railway station when they met? The guys met in the same place, which means they were equally far from the station. Chris and Sally arrived at the station in time, but they still needed to buy tickets. The price for one ticket was only 50 cents. Chris gave the ticket booth guy $1 without saying a word, and the guy gave Chris 2 tickets without even looking at him. Why? Because Chris gave him 4 quarters, which implies that they need 2 tickets. Chris and Sally have set an ambitious goal to visit 100 countries in a year. Yippee! This morning they boarded the train and their dream journey began. Can you guess their first destination by looking at this picture? Well, have you cracked this rebus? It's Spain. The guys began to play cards with fellow travelers. They noticed the deck was missing a few cards. They also noticed that if they dealt the rest of the cards among 4 people, 3 cards would remain. And if they dealt these cards between 3 people, 2 cards would remain. If they distributed the cards among 5 people, again, 2 cards would remain. How many cards were left in the pack? There were 47 cards left in the pack. Let's see if 47 can be divided by 4. Each of the 4 players will get 11 cards and 3 cards will be left. And if 47 is divided by either 3 or 5, 2 cards will remain undistributed. The guys got hungry and went to the dining car to get some snacks. The waiter brought them drinks and some pastries. When Sally saw the croissant, she yelled and jumped away. There were 2 B's in front of 2 B's. 2 B's behind 2 B's, and 2 B's next to 2 B's. How many B's did she see? Even if it seems there were a lot of B's in that group, in reality, there were only 4. They simply stood in a square formation. When Chris and Sally returned to their car, they found out that someone had broken inside their cabin and stolen their expensive camera and laptops. They called the train guard and questioned 3 witnesses. Chuck said, "I've spent the last 20 minutes in a restroom. You see, I bought 1 pack of instant noodles right before departure, but I regretted it as soon as I finished my meal." Lola said, "I've been editing my vlog for the last hour. I was wearing headphones and didn't leave my cabin." And Daniel said, "I've been partying all night, so I fell asleep as soon as I got on the train." Who's lying? It's Chuck. He said he only bought 1 pack of instant noodles and eaten it. But where does this unopened package come from? Suddenly, the train drove into a tunnel. The lights on the train went out for a few seconds. When the lights came back on, Chris and Sally saw that Chuck had escaped. They chased him around the train cars. Can you help them find Chuck in this car? He's hiding over here. And what about this car? He's hiding on the luggage rack. What about this car? There he is. He's wearing the uniform, pretending to be a train worker. The guys got off the train in Barcelona. After that, they ordered a taxi to go to the apartment they rented in advance. The driver was very generous. He said, "I will give you a free ride if you solve my riddle. I have 4 wings, but I cannot fly. I never laugh and never cry. On the same spot, I'm always found, toiling away with little sound. What am I?" The guys solved this riddle right away and enjoyed their free ride. What about you? The correct answer is a windmill. Finally, the guys found their apartment, but the door was locked. The combination lock required a 4-digit passcode. Can you find any clues and help the guys open the door? There are 6 words written on the wall: eyes, nose, skin, hair, ears, and tongue. All of the listed words are human sense organs, except hair. It's a hint. The correct passcode is hair. The guys loved the rented apartment a lot, but there's one item they liked most of all. Solve this riddle to find out which one. I'm a word of 6. My first 3 letters refer to an automobile. My last 3 letters refer to a household animal. My first 4 letters are a fish. And my whole is found in your room. What am I? The correct answer is a carpet. Sally and Chris went for a walk along the beach. They built a beautiful sandcastle and then went swimming. When they returned, they noticed someone had destroyed their castle. They decided to interrogate 3 people standing nearby. Francois said, "I've been putting sunblock on my wife's back and I didn't notice your castle." Billy said, "I played ball with my friends. I focused on the game and I didn't touch your castle." Alice said, "I saw one weird guy passing by. He stepped on your sandcastle. Horrible. People are all so ill-mannered." Who's lying? Alice. She had lost one of her earrings at the crime scene. The guys headed to a beach party. Chris asked the local DJ to play his favorite song. The DJ said, "All right, but you gotta solve my riddle first. I'm always in charge. I'm never in debt. I'm known as the first amongst all my kind. I'm found within cars, but never in buses. You won't find me in Mexico, but you'll find me in Germany. What am I?" Chris cracked this riddle very quickly. What about you? The correct answer is the letter A. The guys planned a boat ride for the next day. That's why Sally decided to check the weather forecast. Can you tell whether it's a good idea to sail? This puzzle says thunderstorm, so they probably should choose another way to spend their time. Chris and Sally decided to visit the greenhouse to enjoy the local flora and fauna. How many flowers and butterflies are there if both of the following statements are true? If all the butterflies land on all the flowers, one butterfly for one flower, one butterfly won't get a flower. And if every 2 butterflies decide to share a flower, one flower will be left without a butterfly. Do you think you'll manage to find the answer? That's right. There are 4 butterflies and 3 flowers. Chris and Sally went to see the local museum. Unfortunately, they got lost in the basement. They wandered around for a while and found 3 doors leading outside. Behind the first door, there was a zombie with dangerous hungry monsters. Behind the second door, there was a lake with cold water so cold that nobody could spend even a minute in it. Behind the third door, there was a giant dinosaur breathing fire. Which door should they choose to survive? To solve this riddle, we should remember these 2 things. First of all, dinosaurs didn't breathe fire. That's what dragons do. And dinosaurs went extinct many millions of years ago, so Chris and Sally should choose door number 3. Chris and Sally ran outside the creepy museum, but suddenly a guard popped out of nowhere and said,
I'm going to set you free if you manage to crack my riddle. Here it is. Look in my face. I'm somebody. Look in my back. I'm nobody. What am I?
"Can you help the guys out?" The correct answer is a mirror. Chris and Sally went to a souvenir shop to buy some gifts for their friends. The seller offered them 3 boxes, but the guys can pick only 1 box. Can you help them make the right choice? The first box has a dark bottom, like something is leaked or rotten. The second box looks too fancy and bright, so there's probably something cheap inside. The third one looks like the first one, but it's clean. So they should choose the third box. The guys went to the local skyscraper to take panoramic pictures of the city. They saw a man gazing through the window of the 33rd floor of the building. He suddenly opened the window and jumped on the other side of the window. When he landed on the floor, he was totally fine. How can that be possible if he didn't use any kind of parachute and didn't land on a soft surface? The man is a window cleaner who jumped inside through the window after finishing his work on the 33rd floor. The next day, Sally and Chris arrived at the airport. Can you guess their next location? That's right, it's Greece. When you have 3, you have 3. When you have 2, you have 2. When you have 1, you have none. What is it that you have? Can you crack this code? The correct answer is choice. When you have 3, you have 3 options. When you have 2, you have 2 options. But as soon as there's only 1 remaining, there are no options. Okay, let's go. We'll start with checking your vision. All you need to do is read the word. Let's go. What's written here? It says vampire. Next one. Can you read it? Is meadow. Another one for you. Look closely. Right. It says snowflake. Next one's up. Are your eyes sharp enough to read it? This is meadow. Another one for you. Look closely. Yeah, that's waterfall. Now I'll be showing you some pictures, and your task will be to find all the hidden objects in each of them. Here's the first one. You need to find the 5 objects you can see at the bottom of the screen. Okay, here's where they are. Did you manage to find all of them? One more for you. Concentrate, and keep in mind, you can pause the video if you need it. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I hope you spotted them all. Emma Lynn is an archaeologist working in Africa. She has accidentally gotten stuck in a cave, and there are just 3 ways out. Her map shows that if she goes left, she'll come to a pond that pulls everything in. If she goes straight ahead, she'll run into dangerous dinosaurs that eat everything they see. If she goes right, she'll find herself very close to an erupting volcano. Which way is safe? The road leading ahead. Dinosaurs went extinct millions of years ago. It was Dana's birthday, and her best friends had prepared a gift for her. But first, the girl had to find it. They gave her a note with a hint. Do you know how Dana can read it? It looks as if the note doesn't make sense, but it does. The text is mirrored. That's why she can read it with the help of a mirror. Let's see. So it says, "Your present is in the laundry basket in the basement." Cheryl had to sneak into her dad's computer to delete some emails she had accidentally forwarded him. Her dad had memory problems, so luckily for Cheryl, he always left notes with his passcodes. And indeed, one of such notes was right on his desk. Cheryl typed in 6989. Unfortunately, this passcode was wrong. Can you figure out the correct one? The note was simply turned upside down. Cheryl should try 6869. Reese was on vacation in Cyprus. One day, he saw a beautiful woman and asked her out on a date. The woman said that she would go out with him, but only if he guessed her name. He said it was impossible, and she gave him a hint. The capital of Spain, the capital of Austria, the capital of Romania, and the capital of Australia. Can you help Reese figure out what the woman's name is? The capital refers to the capital letters of these countries' names. So, S, A, R, and A. The woman's name must be Sarah. Yvonne has 4 frogs: Dot, Hoppy, Yoda, and Aristotle. One of them is black and green, and 3 of them are black and blue. Find out which color each of them is if Dot and Hoppy are of the same color, Aristotle isn't black and green. If Dot and Hoppy are of the same color, then they must both be black and blue, since there's only one black and one green frog. If Aristotle isn't black and green, then it's black and blue too. So Yoda is black and green. Honor and Alea are identical twins. After they were born, Honor had her birthday 22 times, but Alea only had her birthday 5 times. How is it possible? They were born on a leap year. Honor was born late at night on February 28th, let's say at 11:59 p.m. And Alea was born a bit later, at 12:01 a.m. It was already February 29th, which only occurs once every 4 years. Now let's relax a bit and try to guess some movies. I'll show you some combinations of emojis, and your task is to guess the movie. Ready? Here's the first one. What's your guess? Of course, it's everyone's favorite, Edward Scissorhands. Okay, here's the next one. You must know it. It's The Devil Wears Prada. Can you guess this one? It's $1 Million Baby. Moving on. You just can't get it wrong. Obviously, it's Home Alone. There's no other story like this one. Can you guess this movie? This reverse transformation reminds me of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I have a couple more for you. I love this movie. Do you know it? It's Interstellar. And how about this one? What's your guess? This one is I Am Legend. In the afternoon, Detective Callum went to a little restaurant for lunch. He was waiting for his order. He overheard a waiter and a client arguing. The waiter claimed that the woman had ordered a special breakfast set and was now refusing to pay. The woman said she'd only ordered a coffee. Detective Callum knew who was lying. Do you? It's afternoon. No one serves breakfast specials at this time, so the waiter was lying. Miss Vidges called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house, tied her up, and robbed her. When police officers arrived, the house was a mess, and the woman was indeed tied to a chair. Still, the officers didn't believe that it was a real robbery. Why? If Miss Vidges was tied up and couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? Her cell phone is too far away from her. An elderly man had poor vision. He lived with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. He ran into the room and asked what had happened. The window was broken. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired young guy had thrown a stone into the window and then had run away. Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had poor vision. He couldn't see the boy, and of course, he couldn't figure out the color of his hair and eyes. Miss Nebula Hayes left for vacation. While she was away, her home office got robbed. All the people whose fingerprints had been found in the office were interrogated. Celeste, Nebula's cousin, said that she'd been to the house just once because Miss Hayes needed her to send her a document from her office. Alyssa, the gardener, said that she'd been coming every third day to take care of the garden and plants. Cash, the cleaner, said that he'd come every Wednesday to clean the house. Who robbed the office? It was the gardener. Celeste and Cash had some reason to be in the office, so their fingerprints aren't that suspicious. But why would Alyssa come there? As you see, there are no plants in the office. In a VIP club, a rich lady was robbed. Someone stole her diamond necklace. The police visited 3 main suspects and interrogated them. Paxton said that he'd been at the party. He even knew what necklace they were talking about, but he had nothing to do with the theft. Reagan said that she hadn't noticed any necklaces. Gaia said that she hadn't been to that party. She was too poor to afford to go to such clubs. Who's the criminal? It must be Gaia. She said that she was poor, but look at her huge house and her fancy car. How can she afford all this if she's poor? Let's take a little break and check how attentive you are. Look, here's a ball and 3 cups. I'll put the ball here in this cup in the middle. Your task is to watch the cups and then tell me where the ball is. Ready? Go! So where is the ball? Look, it's here. Did you get it? Okay, let's try this one. Now I have 4 cups, and I'll be moving faster. I put the ball right here. Watch it closely. So where do you think it is? It's in this cup. Let's make it super hard and see if you can get it now. 5 cups, and I'll move them even faster than before. Ready? So where's the ball? It's right here. Chloe opened her locker and found an envelope. Inside there was a calendar and a note asking if she wanted to go to the prom. The note wasn't signed. There were just several numbers at the bottom. 25, 30, 24, 11, 26. Can you help the girl figure out who asked her out? The calendar is the key. You have to find all the numbers in the calendar, and the first letters of the respective months will make up the name. So, 25 is circled in June, so it's a J. Number 30 is circled in April, so it's an A. 24 is in September, it's an S. 11 is in October, so we've got an O. And 26 is in November, N. The guy's name must be Jason. Hopefully Chloe knows him. Annika was poisoned, and Detective Callum was on the case. One of the main suspects was Marcus Jones, Annika's sister's boyfriend, because someone had seen them together. Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. I'm sorry to tell you this, but your girlfriend's sister was poisoned. Do you know anything about it? By the way, do you have any photos of her? Marcus said, "Oh, poor Annika. She's such a good girl. Yes, I have pictures of my girlfriend and her sisters. Here it is." The detective looked at the photo and arrested Marcus. Why? In the picture, there are 4 girls. This means that Marcus's girlfriend has 3 sisters. Still, Marcus somehow knows exactly which one of them was poisoned.
Abby was a college student. Every day before classes, she packed a sandwich for lunch. And her meal disappeared from her backpack every single time. After Abby was left hungry once again, she got very angry and decided to track down the thief. The next day, she left her bag in the classroom, hid in a locker, and started waiting. Abby noticed someone pull the sandwich out of the backpack, but she didn't see their face. She decided to ask everyone about the stolen sandwich. Liam said, "How dare you? I only eat fruit salads." Jason said, "My granny made this sandwich for me." And Chuck said that he just bought his sandwich in the school vending machine. Who's lying? Abby didn't have lettuce in her sandwich, so it must be Jason who stole it. Abby passed her first test in college and decided to throw a party. She invited all of her friends. That was also the evening when Abby found out that one of them wasn't human. Can you tell who? It's Henry. Both of his shoes are for the right foot. During spring break, Abby organized a garage sale to sell some of her old dresses. After a while, Abby got her first customer, Tina. The girl picked only one dress and asked Abby, "How much for this dress?" Abby answered, $30. Tina didn't want to spend that much, so she asked, "Could you sell it for $20? Abby agreed. Tina gave her $50, but Abby didn't have any change, so she went to her neighbor to ask for help. The neighbor gave Abby 3 notes, 2 20s and 1 $10 note. Abby came back, gave $30 to Tina, and put the remaining $20 in her wallet. A few minutes later, the neighbor ran into Abby's garage and shouted, "That note you gave me is fake! Give me my money back!" Abby had to give the man her own money. How much money did she lose? Well, firstly, Abby gave away the dress for free, and its full price was $30 before the discount. Then she had to pay $30 out of her own pocket to her neighbor. So, Abby lost a total of $60. Abby invited her best friend Nina to go skating in the park. Soon, they got really hungry and decided to buy some burgers. They chose similar toppings and added lots of sauces. 10 minutes later, Nina got very sick. Abby had to call 911. Paramedics took the girl to a hospital and diagnosed severe poisoning. Can you tell which sauce was poisoned? This one. Abby didn't use any garlic sauce. When Nina got better, Abby took her for a walk. They spotted the spookiest house in the neighborhood and decided to check it. That was a big mistake. When they got inside, the door behind them suddenly disappeared. Now they have 3 ways out. There's a zombie behind the first door. A creepy vampire is waiting behind the second door. And there's an angry ghost behind the third door. Which way is the safest? They should choose the third door. Ghosts may be spooky, but they can't cause any real harm. Okay, well, maybe you might get slimed, but... Nina and Abby found themselves in the next room. The door leading outside was open, and they ran toward it. But an old witch popped out of nowhere and yelled,
"Not so fast! You've got to solve my riddle first! Why are these words in such an order?"
Nina and Abby failed to crack this riddle. What about you? Here's the correct answer. The words rhyme with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's why they're in this order. The witch teleported Nina and Abby to her basement, but the girls didn't give up and found 3 ways out again. The room behind the first door was filled with toxic gas. It was extremely harmful to their lungs and skin. There was a 300-pound weight above the second door. It'll crush anyone or anything that steps inside. And a hungry tiger was waiting behind the third door. Abby and Nina hesitated for a while and made the right choice. Which door did they choose? Nina took off her boot and threw it on the floor in the second room. The weight crushed the boot, and the girls ran into the room and closed the door. After that, they escaped through the window. Unfortunately, they got lost in a magical forest. It was cold since it was winter. After wandering around for a while, they saw 3 roads. All of them seemed dangerous. If they picked the road leading to the left, they'd have to go past some hungry wolves. And if they went straight ahead, they'd have to go through a village where werewolves lived. And the third path went over a lake covered with thin ice that could crack at any moment. Which way should they choose? They should follow the second path. Look at the sky. It's a new moon, and werewolves are only dangerous during a full moon. Nina and Abby got home safely. But someone had burgled their apartment while they were absent. They called the police, and they questioned 3 neighbors. Jeff said, "I was away all weekend, fishing with my friends." Holly said, "I didn't leave my home. I was painting the walls in my apartment all weekend. I love bright colors, you know." And Lucy said that she'd been singing karaoke with her friends and hadn't heard anything suspicious. Who's lying? Holly. The walls in her apartment are mostly white, but she said that she painted them in some bright colors. Nina got a job in a bookstore. On her first day at work, she found a vintage watch on the floor. 3 people came over to claim it. Kevin said that he'd bought this watch when he got his first salary many years ago. Violet said that she'd inherited the watch from her grandfather. And Dylan said, "This watch is priceless. My wife gave it to me for our 5th anniversary." Can you tell who owns this watch? It's Violet. She has the narrowest wrist. That's why the girl made an extra hole. Otherwise, the watch would slip off her hand. Abby went on a date with Jerry. He invited her over. But as soon as Abby got inside his apartment, Jerry turned into an evil wizard. He decided to make fun of her and said, "I'll give you a chance to get free. Just make me breakfast tomorrow. If it's good enough, I'll let you go. And if it's bad, you'll stay here forever." The next morning, Abby came to the kitchen and began cooking. When she turned away from the stove, Jerry added a whole box of salt to the pot. But when Abby served breakfast, Jerry understood that he'd have to let Abby go. What did she cook? She cooked boiled eggs. Abby got a new job. She had to assist a railroad supervisor. One day, they faced a huge problem. A faster train was approaching a slower one. According to the schedule, the slower train had to let the faster train go first. Abby offered to use an auxiliary railway line, but it was too short for the slower train. Abby didn't know what to do, but finally, she found the solution. What did she realize? The faster train should use the auxiliary railway line. Now the slower train can move back. When the main railway line is free, the faster train can go first. Abby got a note which said that a vampire family had moved into one of the houses in the neighborhood. Abby wanted to find evidence that vampires didn't exist. She found the street she needed. There were 3 houses there. Which house looked suspicious? Look at the footprints. They're pretty weird. They lead to and from houses A and C. It means people must come and leave these houses. As for house B, the footprints only lead inside. So this must be the vampire's house. Abby told Nina about her adventures, but her friend didn't believe her. So the next night, Nina decided to go into the house on her own. Once she walked through the door, it got locked behind her back. Nina wandered around and found 3 doors. They looked the same, but the symbols on them were different. Suddenly, a creepy voice announced,
"The only way to escape safely is to exit through the 5th door."
"The only way to escape safely is to exit through the 5th door." But there were only 3 doors. Which door should Nina choose? Take a look at the symbols. They're actually numbers turned toward each other. So Nina should choose the first door. This symbol is made up of two fives looking at each other. This must be the fifth door the girl needs. A theft happened in Abby and Nina's college. The police caught 3 suspects. The detective's task was to identify which suspect was a robot. There were several items on the table in front of him: a kitchen knife, a bottle of water, a screwdriver, and a marker. Abby said that she knew how to recognize the robot. What should they do? The detective should ask each of them to drink water from the bottle. The robot will either refuse or experience a short circuit. One day, Abby decided to go visit her granny. The woman lived alone in the countryside. There were only a few stores near her house. There was nowhere to go and no one to talk to. Abby was sick and tired of her city life and wanted to breathe some fresh air for a few weeks. Her boyfriend, Chuck, didn't mind. The next day after Abby left, he sent her a message to find out how she was doing. Abby told him that everything was fine and even sent him a selfie. Chuck looked at the picture and understood that Abby was lying. How did he know? Take a look at the car. There's a movies sign reflected in the windshield.